Put the kids to bed. Dad's home. We are the DWO podcast, representing the Dad World Order. I am the pretty face papa himself, Mr. Magnificent Mike Martin. With me, as always, my dos padres, Senor Big Rig, Eric Maffey. And he makes us three. He is the world record holding, wrestling t-shirt wearing, wrestling t-shirt guy, Cephas.
What up, y'all?
Papa Circumstance.
What is up, everybody? We are the DWO podcast, as Mr. Magnificent just said, and we are here tonight with Mr. Ed Gonzales. Ed, I got first question for you, always the most important. How the heck are you, sir?
Brother, I'm doing great. I just have a couple questions, though.
Sure.
So, like, the DWO is the Dad World Order.
Correct.
What if my pull-out game is super strong and I don't have any kids?
It's fine.
That's fine.
Dad
Okay.
spirit.
All right.
Respect the game, player.
Yeah.
No, I'm good, brother. How's everybody else doing?
We're doing great, brother. We're doing absolutely
Good, man.
But even though you don't have kids,
You have a dog or something?
They're cats.
There you go.
Well, there
Counts.
you go. See, look at that.
well, then that leads
There's a
into
loophole in the
the
whole
next
thing.
question, which we ask everybody. Mike, you and him with the follow up.
Sir, what do you keep your thermostat set at?
I would tell you, but it's on my phone, and I'm using my phone to like talk to you guys. I want to say like 68.
Okay,
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good
anywhere
job.
between 68 and 70, I think is.
We've had a couple weirdies on here the last couple times, man, keeping their houses in like the 50s, and I'm like, what? On what planet?
I don't know about the 50s. Don't get me wrong. I have my days, but yeah, I'd say pretty consistently between that 65 and the 70. I would
Right.
say is
Like, that's
Is-
respectable. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I like to keep my house like it's Antarctica. Thank you very much. And
Well,
I'm not
see,
comfy
the
last
thing
time.
is, for
Seeing
me
my
though,
breath.
is I'm always down here in the basement because this is where I work. Like my office is literally on the other side of this camera, where all my fun stuff is, where the big screens are. Like I'm down here all the time. So literally where I sit, there's a vent right above my head. So like if it gets too cold, it's awful.
So,
And I'm
man,
a fat dude. Like I'm a rotund gentleman, and
Right,
I can
I get
take I can take some cold. But man, sometimes 65 to 70s, that's a good temperature.
right.
See, dad at heart right there.
I love it. Love it. So I guess we should probably tell the people, all 0 of you that are watching.
All 0. Well, you know what? You put me on the flyer, and I've never been known to draw a dime. So
We'll get him on the replay.
yeah.
No,
all both of them.
Yeah, all both of you. So you run the Squared Circle Expo? Is that correct?
That is an accurate statement, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Squared Circle Expo is it's me, my wonderful, understanding wife, my buddy, my partner Adolfo, and his even more understanding wife. It's the 4 of us together that we put these little shindigs together.
Well, that's
Little
selling
shindig,
it
man,
a
that's-
little short, but all right.
Yeah.
So how's that feel, man? Because I've seen you from back when, you know, I've known of you, I think, for like around 15 years now. And I seen the Squared Circle start from an idea essentially that you guys just barely started talking about, and then it seemed you are the premier wrestling event now. How does it? That's got to feel really cool to be considered that in a lot of wrestling fans' eyes.
I'm not going to call us the premier wrestling event because, well, WrestleMania exists.
Well,
I would say like wrestling. I guess we call it a convention.
Yeah. No, listen, man. There's several wrestling conventions out there. Several of them that are really good. But that was the thing about Squared Circle Expo. At its heart was there's big wrestling conventions in California. There's big wrestling conventions in New York, New Jersey. There's big wrestling conventions in Florida. And then wherever WrestleMania is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There was nothing in the Midwest.
No.
Like, when I say nothing, I don't mean nothing. I mean, there were shows and autograph signings and stuff like that, but nothing on kind of that bigger scale for pro wrestling. And I'm happy to know that as far as Midwest pro wrestling goes, in just 3 short years, we have started a revolution, I guess you could say.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you say that again.
Because that was my thing. Like, I always wanted to go to, like a WrestleCade or something like that, but that was always down in the Carolinas on, like, Thanksgiving weekend. And it was like, dude, I can't get away for that. Like,
right.
If I didn't have any kids or whatever, like, maybe. But, like, I got stuff going on. Half the time I'm working that weekend. So,
right.
Like, the fact that you were able to do this, and especially doing it in Indianapolis, like, that's a hop, skip, and a jump for us. Like,
me too.
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, brother.
I got to bring my. Go ahead.
No, man, go ahead, man. I was going to say we just like to keep it in the Midwest.
Yeah, I love it. And that the cool thing is my daughter had been wanting to go to an event like this because her favorite part of going to wrestling shows, like, she enjoys the wrestling, don't get me wrong, but her first question is always, are they doing a meet and greet? Like, she loves, which is funny because she gets, like, super shy when she actually gets there, but, like, that's her whole thing. Like, we're going to Revolver on Saturday, and she's like, are they doing a meet and greet? Is it a meet and greet one? Like, that's her biggest thing. And I was like, hey, do you want to go to a show that is one giant meet and greet? And, so she's, like, ecstatic about that, which she had the best time ever, So
you guys you've been to the show?
We went to the most recent one, yes.
Okay, cool. Did you have a good time?
Buddy, we had a fantastic time.
Good,
awesome.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
I can go on and on about my experience, but obviously Mike was there with me too. He brought his family, and it was so much fun, man. It was so well done.
We are absolutely going to be in attendance. I couldn't because I was in Los Angeles. I couldn't make it back in time.
Excuses.
At that other event.
That's the thing, though. This next year, it is the opposite. It was the opposite weekend this year, but it was. I had a long trip planned. This next year, I'm going to be there every single day. So
there you go.
And you're hearing it publicly here, on this live podcast, So if anybody wants to call me out on my bullshit, I'm going to prove it. I will be there every day this next year.
So here's what Cephas did. Cephas went to one of those conventions out in California instead of going to yours here in the Midwest, is what he did.
Shenanigans.
Listen, I needed to go acknowledge our tribal chief in person, So I did so. And I'm going to go this next year and acknowledge our tribal chief again because he will still be president. He'll still be champion. I've already had too many drinks already, apparently.
Hello, no, man. It's a good time. We try to.
She will definitely call you out.
I've been in the convention business for, I guess it's over a decade now. I started in the convention business in 2010. Was it 2000? It might have been 11. 2010, 2011.
I want to say because that was Days of Whorehound, wasn't it?
Not Whorehound, no. We were doing Days of the Dead.
Days of the Dead. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And once we kind of took a bow out from that and let one of the other guys just take that over because it just became a thing that wasn't wasn't for us anymore. And we kind of sat around for about a year. This was like 2018, I think, 2019, somewhere in there. And, creative minds, as creative minds are, they can never sit at rest. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it became one of those things like, man, we got to do something. We got to do something. And, at first we're like, well, we're not going to do another horror convention. Like that just, like that's so saturated, the horror convention world.
A lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I said, well, man, listen, at the time, I said, I've been in the pro wrestling business for, probably 15 years at the time.
Right.
Maybe even more. And I was like, I have all these connections in pro wrestling. Why don't we try a pro wrestling convention? And it's just one of those things that started out as an idea. And it just, like you said, 3 years later, well, our original one was supposed to be 2020, but obviously
COVID and all that jazz.
Yeah, we spent about $10,000 in advertising. And then I remember when COVID struck, it was in March, and we were scheduled for our first show in May of 2020.
Oh,
no. And I just remember us texting and whatnot, and it was just like, dude, this shit'll be over in 2 weeks, man. We're fine. Come May, dude, we're golden.
Yeah,
we are fine. And then it went from March to April, and now we're all locked in our house, and I'm going, I think we're fine, man. I think we're going to be fine.
And the latest.
I think we all had that in our heads, man. I had a private bed, 1-bedroom place on Treasure Island with my wife, and we were going to WrestleMania 36 together, and it was going to be our honeymoon that we never got to take. And then when they canceled Mania, I was like, no. I was so pissed,
dude. I still remember that being like, they're not going to cancel WrestleMania.
They're not going to cancel Mania.
There's no way. And then they did it, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, dude.
That's how you know it was serious.
Right.
I think it was, I'll be honest, I think when they officially announced Mania was canceled, because at the time our show was going to be like 3 or 4 weeks after Mania. And I think when they canceled Mania, we were like, it's over, dude. It's over.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah. And but hey, you know what? We came back the following year amongst a ton of COVID restrictions still, and we rocked it out. And then the following year, no restrictions, rocked it out. Last year, or I guess technically this year, we rocked it out. So
yeah. So how? I guess my question is how did all that? Like you said, you got a lot of connections and stuff like that. Was it just kind of like, hey, would you be interested in doing a convention type thing, or because I don't know the financial and logistics of all this stuff. So I guess just if you can kind of explain that.
Sure. I mean, I'm not going to talk about financials, but let's just say it's not.
I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No. So I started in the wrestling business in the year 2000, 2001. I was a shitty indie worker, just being shitty, but I have this natural knack. So how do I put this? So in today's pro wrestling world, which I could never survive in, by the way, FYI, these kids today on every level are 400 billion times better than anybody in my generation, just for the record, athlete wise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
So when I first started in wrestling was the secondary thing for me. The most important thing was, all right, where's the party at after? What strip club are we going to? Who's got the booze? What do we do? That was why I got into wrestling, because I wanted to party like a rock star, right? And through those ventures of partying like rock stars, I got to, rub elbows and work with a lot of big name guys. So when it came time for that, I just said, I know this guy, I know that guy, I know this guy. And most of them, I can call them up and be like, hey, I'll pay for your travel, pay for your hotel room, and you don't have to take a single bump. All you got to do is sit at a table and scribble your name on paper. And they're like, bet, right?
Yeah.
So that's how the first few guys started rolling in,
So that, I mean, obviously you got to get like kind of, at least a few like bigger name draws, and then do you ever have wrestlers that kind of like ask to be a part of it, or is it you just reaching out to everybody?
The first year, no, it was nobody asked to be a part of it. Being a first year anything, you're basically like, these guys are going to fall flat on their ass. Like,
Right.
we're not, and in the people that you ask and you say, how much will it cost for you to do this? The number's 3 times what it normally would be, because they're like, this is a first time guy. And,
Right.
this guy's going to suck. But luckily for us, to go back to that other convention venture that we did, through that convention venture, we got to make a lot of connections with a lot of agents. Right. So pro wrestling now is more like Hollywood, whereas these guys, they're not taking their own bookings mostly. No, I'm not saying that they're all not that way, but a lot of these guys have agents.
Mhm.
Luckily, a lot of these agents that we were using for the movie stars, the TV stars, and the rock stars, they also represented a lot of the bigger name pro wrestlers.
Okay. Yeah,
So it helps that we already had that relationship with agents to say, hey, I want MJF or I want Kane or whoever it may be. And they're like, bet, let's do it. So
Yeah.
That makes it a little easier. You kind of have a middleman who knows all the numbers. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously you had the experience doing, the horror conventions and stuff like that, but it's one of those things where like I wouldn't even know, like, I mean, even now, like when we do sponsorships for stuff, we're like, what is like the going rate on stuff like this? I don't know if I'm getting like screwed or if this is a good thing or
Right.
whatever. So yeah, that's gotta be helpful, kind of already having that experience going in.
A lot of it is learning on your feet, though, man. At one point, nobody knew how to do it. You know what I mean? But you learn. You'll fail 100 times. As long as you succeed once, you'll be all right.
Right.
And see, that's what we're doing here, Ed, is we're only about 6 months running of a podcast, man. But, we've kind of got this umph behind us and we're getting some really significant guests on, and we're just going to,
then when you don't have a significant guest, you call me.
Hey, whether you want to give yourself credit or not, man, you're Eddie fucking Gonzales, dog. Listen, you may not think you're the greatest wrestler, but you've entertained me several times.
You've entertained me once. I was there with him when you wrestled Hooks at Battle on the Border.
Yep.
Bro. God, I was thinking about that.
That was so fun.
Came over and grabbed his beer out of his hand to Hulk
see,
up.
that's the type of shit, man, that I love, man.
I loved it.
Like, I don't want to give him too much credit, but a local guy around here, and I know you know who I'm talking about, Carson Drake. He's got that level of crowd interaction that you do, but in a heel way that I love so much, man. Carson's
great. I mean, I first met Carson a couple years ago. I had this weird idea that, like, I was going to start taking bookings again. I don't know. Right. And my buddy, Timmy Lutz, he, at the time, he had I'm not going to call it a school, but he had like a training building with a ring and all that shit. And I said, hey, Timmy, you're not too far from me. Let me come and roll around. And he was like, yeah, come on up. And I showed up, and Carson was one of the first kids in there that I had met that day. And he just has something. That's a good kid, man. That's a good kid.
Yeah.
And he's better every time I see him. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly what I was just about to say. He is exponentially increasing in that. I brought a sign to just a simple show we went to 2 days before Mother's Day, and I brought a sign that says, Carson Drake doesn't call his parents. And instead of just blowing it off, man, he made that the whole thread of his match. He called his mom in the ring, and his mom hung up on him. And then literally there was a whole group of kids who was chanting, your mom doesn't love you. Your mom doesn't love you.
It was awesome.
He crafted an entire match with somebody he didn't have like a storyline with out of a sign. And that right there, I was like, man,
genius.
I don't give this guy any credit, but damn it, that's genius.
Now, I will tell you that, and this isn't a knock on anybody that's in the area or anybody that's this is not a knock on anybody, but out of all of the kids that I have seen recently, right? Like I look at wrestling different than a lot of other people do just because of my experiences in it. And I would say there's probably 4 guys in the immediate area that I think has a damn good opportunity of being one of the next guys that I guess you could call it gets called up. Whether that may be Impact or AEW or WWE or whatever.
Right.
There's probably, like I said, about 4 guys that I'm thinking right off the top of my head. And Carson Drake is definitely on that list. He's still a young kid. He's a good looking kid. Me personally, I know this sounds funny coming from a guy that's built like a melted candle, but
I'm stealing that.
He's getting some size put on him, which is always great. I think the kid's got something. The kid's got something, and I think the world is going to know he's got something at least within the next 5 years.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head, man. I really do. I think there's something special about him. I really do. I think that he has that it factor, which is something that is lacking in a lot of people these days. So for him to have that and to have the mental faculty to,
smart kid too.
Kid. Yeah. So give me another person on those 4 people, man. Give us someone else that we should be hype on.
Man, you're gonna put me on the spot like that?
Absolutely. You can't say there's 4 and then he's one of them.
I'm not making you give all 3. Just give me another one. Give me somebody else we should be on the lookout for. All
right. So this guy, he's actually been around for a long time. I'm not gonna like toot my own horn or anything, but I helped this kid break into the business. The first ring he ever stepped into, that to my knowledge, and worked like a match, was in a ring that I put him in. He's, this isn't me just saying it because he's one of my best friends, but he's one of my best friends in the whole world. Groomsman at my wedding, but I think the veteran Jack Vaughn
hell yeah,
is hitting his stride. It's taken him about 15 years, but I think he's finally hitting that stride, and he's on his way.
He has everything, man. He is part of the reason that I have become such an indie guy lately. Because to be fair, I used to just be the WWE, AEW guy. You know what I mean? I would watch the TV stuff. And then it started with people showing me CZW. And then I started watching CZW, and then I heard about Hamilton having FGW, and it just slowly built into this whole thing. And now I'm like an addict to indie wrestling. His whole gimmick is so great, man, and he's such a great dude too. So it's cool to see a good dude succeed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whereas I think a guy like Carson, who I think is going to be there, I still think he's got a little work to go to get there. In my personal opinion, I think Jack Vaughn is there. He just needs the right person to see it.
Yep.
You place that exact character that he's doing right now in the Indies on an AEW, he will get it. He will ROH, AEW, MLW, whatever you want to, whatever W.
Right.
Just put him in a feud with the Young Bucks for a month, and that the internet would explode.
It's so funny because I've known Dustin for 20 years, right? Like I've known him for forever, and I knew he was starting to put stuff like on like the TikTok and all that other stuff, and your friends, you always want them to succeed no matter what, right? You just, that's my boy. I want to see him. I didn't realize how over that he was with his TikTok until this was probably almost a year ago, give or take. And I knew that the Headbangers were coming to town for Tri-State Wrestling, somewhere that was like, I don't know, it was like 40 minutes from my house. And the Headbangers, let me tell you something, guys. Those two dudes are two of, hands down, the coolest dudes on the history of planet Earth. Like, the whole history of planet Earth. Mosh and Thrasher, dudes. Like, just dudes. And I knew they were in town. And me and the wife, we weren't doing anything. I said, hey, let's run over to this show real quick. Say hey, and then we'll take off and head to do whatever we want to do. And so we go in, we show up, and of course we see everybody get big hugs, you know what I mean? And these two guys were over on the other side of the locker room. These are the two guys that were going to be working with Mosh and Thrash. And they're like talking about something, man. You know, big goofy spots, right? Like just craziness. And you know, of course they're like, do they know they're working with us? Like, right. And so they start laughing, and then all of a sudden Mosh goes, oh my God, bro, have you seen this guy on TikTok? He calls himself the Veteran, I think. And I pop huge because that's my boy. And I go, oh my God, that's my dude Dustin. All of a sudden Mosh pulls out his phone, and he's literally got all of Jack Vaughn's videos saved like on his phone. And he's just putting them over.
Oh.
And it was at that point I knew Jack Vaughn is over.
He's got
Jack
something.
Vaughn is over. Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that like I wanted to buy like the shirt I wanted the most from him is literally just the leg with the hand next to it and the asterisk thigh slap. Like getting that, like something that like, you know, most of the smart mark community, like they realize that a thigh slap is a thing. And just the amount of enraged people in his comments just makes me the happiest. It really does. People get so mad, and it's just like, dude, it's wrestling, man.
Yeah.
Someone in his comments had such a brilliant idea the other day, and I hope that he uses it. He commented back that he liked the idea, but someone had the idea of Jack needing to throw people into the tree of woe and then act like he's going to do something super dangerous and just slap their thigh. I was like, oh, that is fucking brilliant. I hope that Jack adopts that. Instead of giving chops in the corner, let's chop their thighs. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be so good.
But yeah, you know, those are two guys. And again, I'm not knocking anybody that I haven't mentioned, right? Like, but those two guys immediately come to mind as far as, in my opinion, two local guys that I think could do something.
I would absolutely love to see Jack Vaughn on an AEW. Like, just,
and you know, it's really funny too, because you know when we started with, so back nowadays there's pro wrestling on every corner, right? Good wrestling, bad wrestling, and everything in between wrestling. Mm-hmm. And back when I started, and Dustin, you know, same time frame. Or I'm sorry, Jack. That's gonna kill me. I'm sorry, guys.
Just dropping a name or two, you know.
I know. You either worked for the HWA or you worked for NWF. That was really it. Like there were these little outlaw shows around, but overall it was either HWA or NWF. Well, I went with the HWA, and he went with the NWF. And it's just one of those things. And of course, you have your nice friendly rivalry, right? But back then, you know, one of the big companies, you know, of course, you had, you know, your WWF, WCW had just shut down, ECW had just shut down, and OVW to us was like, that was a big deal because at the time they were the WWE or F developmental.
Farms.
And so when I saw Jack win the OVW title, that one to me too, that one was like I felt that one. That one was cool. So
I was hoping he was on that list because he was wanting, and I went up to a Future Great Wrestling show with Cephas, and he immediately captivated. Luckily for me, you know, being my first show, I had like a 10-year-old little kid next to me that literally filled me in on every storyline going on. So I was like in the know right then and there. So, but yeah, no, I mean Jack, we've had him on as a guest before also, and just an incredibly awesome guy. I like the
Yeah.
fact that he actually uses, like, you know, people give him shit about his TikToks and stuff, but he actually, you know, uses that as part of the character and everything too.
Absolutely brilliant. You know, again, to go back because I'm old, our social media was like MySpace.
Yeah.
I think our original like advertising of social media was LiveJournal. If that, you know, and we had our own GeoCities websites.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so now that, you know, you've got your Facebook and your Instagram and your TikTok and your YouTube, I mean, everything, use every ounce of that. Like,
Right.
there should never be a stone that you don't overturn to find your next opportunity. Jack has been around for so long that TikTok wasn't a thing, right? Like, what is that app? Like 4 years old, 5 years old? I don't know. I just joined it like a year or two ago, but you know, there's this new medium to get yourself over. Why would you not use it? Why would every pro wrestler ever not use that? It's beyond me.
Well, and I mean, you see it all the time now. I mean, like, obviously Cardona does this brilliantly. Like, he just posts his little, you know, promo videos and stuff that gets a bazillion likes and, you know, all that stuff.
Hey,
like, and
that's Squared Circle Expo champion, Matt Cardona.
Matt Cardona, Squared Circle Expo champ.
I respect that so much, by the way. I have 3 or 4 Zack Ryder shirts. I've been a woo fan forever. At some point, I gotta meet him, man. He's on my bucket list of meet and greets. I know I've got plenty of chances in the future, so I'll take it at some point. But God damn, I love to see him get the respect that he deserves, because I've been such a fan for so long. And when I saw he was your champion, I was like, yes, Ed knows what's up. Ed knows, you know what I mean? Like, this is the perfect guy to put in front of your company, man. I mean, he's
for sure.
Brilliant.
You know, I respect a guy like Matt Cardona, and you know, to that same extent, Brian Myers, Heath Slater, you know, really that whole pod crew. I respect those guys so much, because these were dudes that had the dream job, right? They're in WWE. They've been there for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever it was, and then they get fired, right? And yeah, AEW exists and Impact exists, and you know, there are other avenues now to get paid and make money in pro wrestling, but these dudes literally took it on their own, right? Yeah. They not only created, you know, the major pod, they created their own toy lines. They created, I mean, they said, you know what? I'm going to show the world that you can make a good living on the indies. And damn it if they haven't. You know what I mean? So I respect the shit out of that. The pioneer of that was Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana was like the only dude I knew forever that was making like a legit living just working the indies, and just all guys. And those are all guys I bring to my shows because, you know, regardless of, you know, what's perceived as talent, regardless of it, I respect the hell out of those guys for putting in the work. You know, I respect the hell out of that.
Matt was such a genius too, with going into GCW. I mean, which is notoriously like anti the big leagues, and he was Mr., you know, WWE soft style. I mean, that would have been like the Miz going in there and winning the title from Nick Gage. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was, I mean, it's just freaking perfect, man.
The Deathmatch King.
We do have a couple comments here. Big Propaganda Wrestling Podcast. What is going on, fellas?
What up, guys?
What up, guys?
What up?
They said you're awesome too, Cephas.
Thanks, guys.
And they
must not know him.
What is your favorite wrestling T-shirt?
Man, of all time, if we're going all time, it's got to be the Austin 316. But currently, my favorite wrestling T-shirt is my Danhausen Swirl Rucking Fountain shirt. That's probably my current favorite wrestling T-shirt.
Is that the one you wore at your last show?
Yeah, that's one I wore at my band's show. Yeah, so
And
I also like my Orange Cassidy custom T-shirt.
hey, that's 101, baby.
Yeah.
Love it. And also, Ed, this was a response to you saying you look like a melted candle. We have at least the candle is lit.
Hey, that can get a man through a whole month right there. A good comment like that.
The thing I really like about Cardona and company and them, it seems like they're having more fun now.
Yeah, for sure.
In that kind of less structured environment, maybe. I don't know if that's the right way to put it.
I mean, think about it. It doesn't matter if you're in pro wrestling or, you work on cars or, you sell Avon, right? Like the dream, no matter what your profession is, the dream is to be your own boss, to make your own hours, to do what you want when you want, have fun doing it, and make a living at it. That's the dream for America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what those guys are doing in pro wrestling.
Dream, baby.
Yeah,
dream.
Sorry, we did have
shout out to Briscoe.
Doggy has, I don't know. Do you have a comment, Briscoe? No comment. No comment.
So, Ed, we got to touch on it, man, because I am a absolute plastic addict as well, as you can see from all the toys behind me. How many Funko Pops do you have? Do you know an approximate number?
So here's what I can tell you. At one point, I probably owned somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000.
Wow.
What?
At one point. So here's the thing, right? Like, I have what a doctor would call what? I have what a doctor would call an addictive personality, right? Like if I own one of something, I feel compelled to own all of something.
Oh, absolutely.
If I have one beer, I feel compelled to have 30 beers. No matter what, I can't do something once, right? And when I first got into Funko Pops, it's actually really funny because I remember seeing them in the store. And I was like, those are the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. I was like, they're like bobbleheads, but they don't bobble. Like, who's buying those? Right? And, you go on. Well, one day at one of our horror conventions, a vendor had some Funko Pops, and they had like, a bunch of horror ones, obviously, right? Like Sam from Trick or Treat, Captain Spaulding, all those guys. And I'm like, well, damn, those ones are actually kind of cool.
Right.
And so I picked some up. And then, they just sat on a shelf. I didn't pay attention to them. They were just 3 or 4 pops, whatever, sitting on a shelf. And then I pre-ordered one of the WWE video games. I don't remember what year it was, 2K14 or something, that if you bought the like Ultimate Edition, it came with a Hollywood Hogan Funko Pop.
Ooh, nice.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna buy the game anyway, right? I may as well just buy, again, go big or go home. I may as well just buy like the big one for the Funko Pop,
the Ultimate Collection.
And then I buy it, and I just put that Funko Pop on a shelf. One day I was sitting on a couch with Heather, my wife, and she's just playing on her phone, and she goes, "Honey, I was just on eBay. Did you know that Hulk Hogan Funko Pop is selling for like $200?" And I'm like, shut up.
Come
No,
again?
it's not. No, it's not. That's stupid. And she goes, no, look. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Look at the other ones. And then, like, Captain Spaulding.
Here we go.
So she looks at, like, Sam from Trick or Treat. She's like, this one's $100. This one's $200. And I'm like, shut up.
What?
Like, yeah. And I said, well, that's cool, but, I'm never going to spend more than $10 on one of these. I might buy one if they're cool. And then 3,000 Funko Pops later, when the obsession kicks in, now I'm spending, $500 on a Funko Pop or $1,000 on a Funko Pop.
Just and to have it.
Because I needed to have it. But you know why I needed to have it? Because you didn't have it. If you don't have it, that means I've got to have it. Like, that's how my brain works. I'm a very keeping up with the Joneses kind of guy.
Right.
And I will tell you that I was fully obsessed with Funko Pops. I mean, look at it. You see this Funko sign right here? I got that from that's a Hot Topic display sign. The only way you can get that is if you're a Hot Topic. You know how I got it? I walked into a Hot Topic that was closing down. And I said, how much for the Funko sign? And they're like, it's not for sale. I said, everything's for sale.
Right. You're going out of business. I disagree.
Sign on your door says everything must go.
Everything has a price.
And so now I have that Funko sign.
Awesome.
I don't know, Ed. You're pretty Hot Topic, buddy.
All right. So,
but I will say this.
Go ahead.
My passion and my love for Funko Pops has greatly diminished. I'm actually considering just selling the lot. Here's the thing. COVID killed it for me. COVID killed my passion for Funko. And this is how. One of my favorite, I love the thrill of the hunt. Okay. Right. I don't care what it is. It's not always about the destination. It's the journey. Right. So yes, I have this really cool Funko Pop that's really hard to get and it's really expensive. But that's not the cool part. The cool part is what I had to do to obtain it.
Yes.
Right.
I get that. Sure.
So I was the guy that would go to a mall or a Target or whatever and stand in front of their doors at 4:30 in the morning.
Wait for them.
And wait until they opened.
Yeah. So
that I knew that I would be the first person in line to get what I wanted. I could not tell you how many times I did that. Because it was my thing. Like, it was the thrill of the hunt. I remember one day, Walgreens was getting exclusive Funko Pops. And where I worked, there was a Walgreens probably, a block down the road. I went, they were like, oh, we got the truck, but we need to unload the truck. I'm like, all right, cool. I came back 2 hours later. Hey, man, we haven't got that off the truck yet. Okay, cool. 2 hours later, I went to this Walgreens 10 times in one day. And finally I said, dude, I will help you unload this truck. Like, whatever's taking so long, give me some gloves, let's go. And luckily I didn't have to. And he's like, no, man, we actually got it. And that's the shit I would do. But COVID killed all that. Now everything is a 3 or 4 month pre-order in advance. You want this? Just buy it online and wait 3 months and it'll show up.
Right. There's no hunt anymore.
There's no hunt anymore. And that really killed my passion for it. Plus, I don't know what you guys are into, but I hate anime. I hate anime. Anime of all kind. Japanese anime, to me, I hate it. And 90% of what Funko has been putting out for the last year and a half is just anime. And I get it. That's a smart business decision because there's a ton of virgins that love anime. Ton. And I get it. And it's a smart business decision for them. It's not for me. So if I've got $100,000 worth of Funko Pops or more, why don't I just sell them all and
have $100,000
start something new?
Right.
So that's where I'm kind of at.
So we actually got a couple questions for you here before we get too far along. So we're about to shoot a blog Saturday. Mikey from the show scored an unopened box 1991 WCW trading cards. Any advice on getting cards graded or trading?
No, I have no idea. So a funny story again about those nights / mornings hanging out at Target. So pre-COVID, nobody gave a shit about cards, bro.
Right?
I don't care who you are. Nobody gave a shit about cards. Cards were cool when it was like the 90s, like when I was a kid, and everybody was
Same.
collecting cards.
Yeah, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, all of it. Yeah.
In 2018 or 19, nobody was collecting cards, bro. Nobody. And you can't tell me any different. Yeah, your uncle's best friend's cousin has been collecting cards since 1964 or whatever. Yeah, those guys are the exception, not the rule. Nobody was buying cards, sports cards, Pokemon cards, any cards. Nobody was fucking buying. And then one day, this was around COVID-y time. It wasn't like full lockdown. I'm standing in front of I'm sitting in my car in front of a Target. And I see somebody walk up. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. There's like 2 more hours for the store opens. And I'm like, shit. I'm not going to be the first in line. I'm not going to get the chase. That guy's going to get the chase. I'm pissed. So like I get out of my car as quickly as I can and I like waltz up to the door. And then of course, you know, it's always that weird standoffish look because you guys are both nerds, right?
So awkward. I know it. God, I know that.
What are you doing here?
And finally, you know, one of you's got to speak up, and it's like, so what are you here for? And he starts telling me about these cards, like it's the day Target gets cards delivered or something. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, really? Cards? Of course, I'm standing in line for a vinyl Funko Pop. Who am I to talk shit about anybody? But in my mind, I'm like, this guy's a fucking nerd.
Look at this loser. I'm getting Funkos. I'm cool.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then it was so weird because then it was like week after week, there'd be 10 Funko Pop people, and then there'd be 8 Funko Pop people and a card person, and then there'd be 4 card people and 5 Funko Pop people, and then there would be 10 card people and me. Right? Like it was like this weird progression. And now everybody talks about cards and gradings and rookies and logo men. And I don't get it. I don't know it. I'm not talking shit. I am talking shit because that's what I do. But I know nothing about cards.
It's a weird.
Ed, you keep saying you're old. How old are you?
I am old.
How old do you think?
So around these parts, I hold that title. I am the reigning and defending Universal Old Champion.
How old are you?
43.
Oh, you got me by this much.
Yes! And still!
But you got to remember, I used to fall down for a living. So I'm only 42 years old, but my body is a clean, young 87.
I went to Catholic school, so.
That's a different type of abuse.
No, but what I was going to say is, you know, yeah. Woo. Anywho, that's a whole different podcast.
Oh shit! So before we move on from the Funko Pops,
get my question out.
You're good. You're good. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Talk about baseball cards at conventions. I mean, it's so. I was thinking you probably grew up the same time I did, and like one of my fondest memories growing up was collecting baseball cards and going to baseball card conventions. Like they were the shit back in the day.
I was a basketball card kid back in the day. I've never been a big baseball fan, like just in general. But I was always a basketball card kid, and I never went to any conventions or anything. I didn't know those things existed in the late 80s, early 90s when I was, you know, but like it was the early 90s, man. It was Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, and
yes,
you know what I mean? So I was a basketball card kid, but I also wasn't the kid that, you know, was collecting to resell. Like I didn't know that shit back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know what? I make jokes. I really do, guys. I don't think if you watch anime, you're a virgin, and most of you anyway. I don't
say,
think
you were getting some people that were pissed off at you here for a minute.
I just making jokes, but no, cards, I know nothing about them. They do not interest me in any way. So
Ed, do you have we got another one for you here real quick. Well, 2 more. Do you have your own Instagram, or is it just the squared circle?
No, squared. I can't remember if there's underscores or not. It's squared circle ed, but I can't remember if it's squared underscore circle underscore ed. It's one of those.
We'll look you up.
Because I used to have my own Funko Pop page and channel, YouTube channel, the whole nine. But again, I kind of fell out of that love of Funko Pops, so I kind of rebranded it. But it's around there somewhere.
And then Cephas, I guess this one's for you. Favorite shirt is the DDP Self High Five shirt.
Hell yeah.
That is a good one.
You know what my favorite shirt is of all time?
Yeah, let's hear it.
The purple Rockers t-shirt.
Okay.
Nice.
Where they're like cartoon guys on it,
Yeah.
and it's purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number one wrestling shirt for me.
I got to get that on the count, man. That's a good one.
That's a great one. I love the Rockers.
Oh yeah, well, Marty's a train wreck, man, but I love him to death. He is one of. I'm not going to call him a best friend because I kind of had to cut ties with him just because of the shenanigans. But man, me and Marty have had some. We've had some times, brother.
Business was rough back then, and some guys, kind of held on to some of them things, and some guys let them things go, and some guys had better support systems than others. How about that?
Here's my argument for Marty, and then I'll let you guys move on or whatever we're doing. But Marty is a genuine dude. Like, he doesn't mean harm. There are times where he gets a little inebriated and something sounds really funny to him, but maybe not so much to the rest of the general public.
I can relate.
but my thing with Marty is it's like, guys, this man gave his entire life to pro wrestling, right? Like, this guy gave his entire life to pro wrestling. Blood, sweat, tears, and everything in between. Imagine that you gave your whole life to something and was damn good at it too. People don't people talk about Sean. Marty was the better worker.
Yeah.
Marty was the worst promo, but as far as wrestler goes, Marty was fucking good.
Yep.
But imagine that this business that you bled for and lived for and did everything in the world for, your name is synonymous with failure. Yeah. And when I say that is anytime WWE brings in a tag team and they go to break them up or whatever, right? What do they call the other guy that's not the star?
The Jannetty. Yep.
Right? So now imagine where your psyche would go.
Yeah.
And so
constantly you got left in the dirt and Shawn Michaels went off and became
exactly.
Successful.
His name became synonymous with being the other guy, right?
Yep.
It's George Michael and the other guy. It's Shawn Michaels and the other guy. That dude is such a genuine, honest dude. Again, that has demons. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see where those demons come from. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So that's just my thing on Marty. I love him to death. Again, I had to cut him off from me just because it got a little too much. But I think people don't give Marty the respect that I think he deserves. Does he say stupid shit? Yeah.
Absolutely.
He does. But that dude was so good in the ring, and he's such a genuine guy. But again, we all have demons. So watch a Rockers match and watch Jannetty. That shit's good.
Oh yeah, man.
I need to go back and do that. Watch some Rockers as with the adult smart eye, I guess. Because as a kid, I mean, they were the shit, man. Just flashy, high flying, and just freaking awesome.
Yep. But no, Marty's, again, just think about that would do with your psyche and see where it'd put you when you're 50 years old. You know what I mean?
Sean for that shit back then.
All right, Cephas. I'm sorry we cut you off.
Oh, you're good, brother. I just wanted, before we moved on from Funkos, I just want to know what your holy grail is. I know you like your cereal Funkos. I followed you on the interwebs for a while, but I know you like your cereal Funkos, but Oh, see, that's their question too. What's your holy grail? What's your number one? Like, even if you sold your whole lot, I don't think I'm going to sell this one.
As far as what I own, holy grails, probably the metallic Frankenberry, Booberry, and Count Chocula.
That's pretty cool.
They were 480 pieces. They came out in 2011, and the only way you could get them was by going to San Diego Comic-Con. They're roughly about $1,000 a piece. But those are like my favorites. But as far as holy grails that like it's just unobtainable, there is a Booberry glow in the dark, and I believe I can't remember if it's 6 or 10. There was only 6 or 10 of them that were ever made.
Damn.
And I have inquired because I know where at least 4 or 5 of them are. I have inquired, and I couldn't find a price under 20 grand.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Wow.
You must really like
crazy.
cereal. I guess that should be our next question. What's your favorite breakfast food? Is it Blueberry? Is it Frankenberry?
Man, that's like Sophie's choice, man. I don't know. I did see they're making a new cereal monster, which I'm not about. I don't like that.
Yeah. It's gonna be weird because it's this day and age too. It's gonna be something.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be the same.
I know it's a chick, isn't it? I saw it's a girl. I can't remember what demon or whatever it is. But
She looks like a Frankenstein Bratz doll.
Like a Bride of Frankenberry?
It's something Creeper, Carmella Creeper, or something like that.
No, just make Bride of Frankenberry. That'd be cool. At least.
at least let Frankenberry get some.
You like the little wigs with the lightning bolts up it?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It looks
All
like
right, it's Kellogg. What's happening?
So, what time is it? I don't have my watch on. You guys got to tell me.
We've been going for about an hour right now. It's about 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm knocking on the door in an hour.
Yeah, I'm old, man. I go to bed at like 10 o'clock.
Can't say that.
Yeah. That's why when I hit you up early.
We're not old. We just feel old.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
That's accurate.
Now, it's only the next morning.
Yeah.
That's when I feel old. I always say I can still drink with the best of them. It's the recovering part I suck at.
Dude, those are, I can drink all this and still get up tomorrow, and I'll just get gas in the morning, are 2 of the worst adult decisions an adult can make.
Thanks for calling me out because I have to do that in the morning. My gas light came on and mind you, I live a rock's throw from a UDF. Like, I can see it from my deck. And I pass it as my gas light comes on, and I'm like, I'll get it in the morning.
I'll just get it in the morning.
And it's gonna be a horrible decision. I already know.
And then you're gonna stand there and you're gonna go, oh, I should have got it last night.
Yeah. Why am I doing this?
Because that only happens on the mornings that everything happens and you're running late and you just have enough time to get to work and you're like, get in the car and it's bing, 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 bing. You son of a bitch.
Yep. Luckily, I work from home now, so I don't have to worry about that too much.
Well, luckily, my gas light, for some reason, I drive a Dodge Ram, and for some reason, my gas light, when it comes on, I still have like, I don't know, well over like 150 miles left of gas. It just
Why does it sound like you've
early.
Tested that way beyond tested it?
Well, I have the thing where you can do like the estimated left. So like when it came on one time, I was like, I want to see how much it is. And I mean, granted, I have tested it to its limits a few times.
We all have. I'm just it's bullshitting.
I can make it up to Hamilton on this. Yeah,
1 mile to empty.
Yep.
Are you guys all in like the Dayton, Cincinnati area?
They're in northern Kentucky.
Me and Mike are northern Kentucky.
Too.
Yeah.
I'm in Kentucky as well.
Really?
Okay. So Cephas is the piece of shit. Right on.
Oh,
Boone County, baby.
I'm up here
in Boone County as well.
Really?
Kenton.
Yeah.
How neat is that?
Yeah, I'm in good old Hebron, Kentucky.
Oh, okay. No
you.
shit.
Yeah.
Ridgewood.
Well, I will be over by you tomorrow morning when I go pick my daughter up. So she goes to school at Goodridge. Granted, she's not in school right now, but that's where her mom lives. Anyway.
Right on.
Anyway,
So if you're
I
not
digress.
going to Revolver this weekend, Ed, what's your next your wrestling show on your horizon, if you will?
I'm gonna be right now. I'm working with Premier Streaming Network. You guys check out watchpsn.com. The Premier Streaming Network is it is the new kid on the block when it comes to combat sports and pro wrestling streaming. You can check out Squared Circle Expo 3 on Premier Streaming Network. I believe they just signed Tri-State Wrestling as well, which is kind of a local place. They have all of CZW's library at CFIS if you want to take a trip down memory lane. But they are running an event in New Jersey September 9th, and I'm helping them put together a lineup and for like meet and greets and stuff like that. And
awesome.
So that's the next thing that's on my horizon is somewhere in the middle of disgusting New Jersey, putting together a pro wrestling show.
I mean, it's a hotbed for it, unfortunately, but
yeah. So, but other than that, every now and again I'll get a wild hair at my ass if I'm just sitting at home on a Saturday or something, and I'm like, oh, who's running? And then
Saturday.
Yeah, but that's Dayton, Ohio, bro. That's so far.
We get carpool,
we're in
bro.
Kentucky. We'll
I'll swoop by and pick you up, man.
Come on, man.
We'll get some McDunks on the way. That'd be great.
Get to watch Takeshita live in a little auditorium. That'll be cool.
His name is spelled Take a Shitta.
Yes, it is.
Damn you, Max. Can never unsee that.
Solid talent, for real.
Dude, we get to watch the Rascals and Ricky Shane Page versus SGC and John Moxley. Like,
I'm going to be honest. You said one name there I recognize.
What about Motor City Machine Guns versus the ABC? Or the Bullet Club?
Oh, Austin. Ace Austin.
Ace Austin and Chris Bay.
Ace Austin worked on my last show. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
That's a good kid. Yeah.
Excellent.
You should come say hi to him on Saturday.
Oh, shit.
Me and Eric are going to show up at your house.
Yeah.
These two idiots.
Ed,
Who are these
let's
two
go.
idiots at my front door? Hey, how are you?
No, I got a ring doorbell, brother. I see you coming a mile away.
It's going to be our faces. Hey!
I'll have Emmy with me. I can have her just do like the puppy dog eyes and be like, "Please come,
please, sir."
I'm good. Please. I'm good.
So,
I'm good.
And I know we're gonna have to talk about this off air, man. But I definitely want to work out something where we can sponsor Squared Circle Expo, and we definitely do some work together, man. We are living by the mantra. You never know unless you ask. So we want to work like you were talking about, rubbing elbows with giants. I think we want to do the same thing ourselves, man, and that's what we're going to try to continually do. And we're going to try to build this podcast as much as we can, man. And I feel like working together will be a
rock and roll, brother. Hey, man, I know that at our first Squared Circle Expo, there were, and God, I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't remember the name of the podcast, or I'd plug you. But things don't stay in here very long, guys. I'm sorry. But a good brother hit me up, and he just said, "Hey, man, I want to thank you." And I was like, "For what?" And he's like, "Man, we had this idea for a podcast, and we launched it at your first Squared Circle Expo. And we went from, 20 views or whatever to, by the third Squared Circle Expo, we're getting 20,000 views a week."
It's awesome.
And that's the thing, man. We have no problem investing in ourselves and in our future.
Does that happen to be SRS with Fightful?
Sean Ross.
Sean Rossap?
No, but you know what? I just met him at the last. He came to Squared Circle Expo this past one.
Oh, I saw him. Yeah, no, he's a super cool guy. He's a
Yeah,
Kentuckian.
no, I'd never met him. He was a cool dude.
Yeah,
I met him for the first time there too.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way. That was my first wrestling convention ever, man, and now I'm fucking spoiled. You know, so
it really was, man. That was
4 better be. You know, the next year better just.
Oh, where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
We lost Ed.
There he is.
Now Ed's the wrestling T-shirt guy.
There we go. There we go.
Oh,
no, dude, I had such a good time. Like I said, I brought my 7-year-old with me, and like she, got to talk with Marty Bell and Sienna, the Hex, Kylan King. Got to meet Renee Paquette. I think the coolest moment for her was meeting Willow Nightingale. Like she's a big Willow fan. But the coolest part about that is she went up to talk to Athena, who she had met before at a Warrior Wrestling show, and Athena remembered her from that and was like, "Here, let me introduce you to my friends. This is Mickey James. This is Willow," and I'm just like, this is the coolest shit ever, man. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Yeah,
it was really
we
neat.
try to, because there's a lot of wrestling conventions out there, man, and in my opinion, they're like a cattle call for your money, and they're literally like a dude, like 8 dudes sitting behind 8 tables. Hey, can I get your autograph? $60. And then it's like, have a good day. And then you go to the next one. And then you go to the next one. And that's it, right? I don't want that at my show. I want you to stay there the whole weekend. I want you to partake in everything and anything. Like, we're a party, dude. Like, I think I like to think that we're a really cool party where people just happen to be signing their names on paper.
Dude.
As opposed to being a place where people sign their names on paper.
You made this impossible, bro.
That was our cool moment right there.
That's a core memory that you created, Ed. Essentially, you being a nerd made that picture happen.
It's true.
That's got to be a cool feeling.
Freaking awesome. And what he was, for as big of a star as he is, man, he was really cool to us. Really,
Nash
really
is
cool.
Nash is cool. He's cool. I got no bad words to say about Nash.
That was, man, I was so stoked for that. That was just, again, growing up, when we grew up, man, he was the dude for quite a while.
And you don't appreciate how tall he actually is, dude, until you're standing next to him.
I'm 6'3", and I'm standing next to him, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you are that tall. Yeah,
that's why he's big, sexy.
Yeah. That was the first thing, definitely, that caught us.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm used to taking pictures with all these wrestlers, and like I'm like towering over them, and everybody's like, "Oh, are you a wrestler?" And I'm like, "Dude, like go talk to some of these people from back,
but I talk about it."
So
the the Vince's wet dreams of the 6'7", 6'8" monsters, and I stand next to them, and I'm just like, I'm the smallest human possible. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ed, do you still? I mean, during this whole convention, is this like a stress-filled like event for you because you're kind of at the helm, so you don't get to enjoy it at all. So we're having all this fun.
I do get to enjoy it because I get to enjoy it, especially after hours. So Ed will be singing karaoke every night after the show's floor is closed. I will drink until the last person falls down. That's my rule. It's my ship, and I have to go down with the ship. So if there's still people drinking, I have to be drinking.
You have to be there with it.
That's my rule. And I will tell you that between the hours on Friday of 4 to 10, I'm a wreck. My blood pressure could like start a car and race the Duke boys. Right? Like,
wow.
I actually had that question.
We are the same age.
how was managing that MJF line on Friday?
Luckily, I have a wonderful team of people, and I didn't have to deal with it. They did.
Because I remember we just came Saturday, and like the Jamie Hayter line was long enough, but like I saw pictures of the line out the freaking door to meet MJF, and I was like,
around the building,
crap.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Generational talents, baby.
Ed, I'm going to ask two things of you. One, I want the opportunity because I saw a podcasting at Squared Circle Expo this year, and I looked at them and I was like, I want that to be us someday. So at some point, I want that opportunity to be there. And two, you can make this happen sooner than later. We want to invite to the after party.
Brother, the invite's open to everybody.
Yes.
The more people, the better, man.
I'll bring a bottle.
Yes. I can't say names. I can't say names because that shit is admissible. And, I can't say names. But I will tell you that Friday night.
Was it Ric Flair?
Oh, I partied with Rick. Let me tell you, all the stories are true. All the stories are true. I promise you. Anyway, but this was before he got real sick and everything. But
yeah.
The stories are true.
We can talk about that when we have you on for a second time.
Friday night, Squared Circle Expo at like 3 or 4 o'clock. I mean, people are just dropping like flies, right? Like I'm drunk, I'm going to bed. It was me, a WWE Hall of Famer. Her name shall remain nameless.
Well, there weren't too many of them there, so I can guess on this one.
Her friend, who's a former WWE Women's Champion, and like Shark Boy. I'll say his name.
Boy. That was the last name I expected to hear. I love it.
We partied so hard.
Yes. Love that.
So hard that the next morning I went up to said Hall of Famer and I said, "Are you okay?" She looked at me and she says, "I injured my liver and it's your fault." And I said, "Well, here's the thing. Do you remember the thing you promised to do tonight that you promised last night?" And she goes, "You're not going to hold me to that, are you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, I am." And she said, "Fine." And then she was a part of my wrestling show. So it was
yes. It's not where I thought that was going, but okay.
I'm a married man, which
he's a happily married man to Miss Hardcore Heather Owens. Shout out. She's one of the best female talents local in this area, man. She's an absolute gem of a
She's
talent.
Okay. She's all right.
Should have read your Wikipedia before we started. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy,
man.
I love you.
Called you a hot topic if I knew that.
I was just about to say the same thing. And we've been going for an hour and 12 minutes. I think it's time we wrap it up for the night. But we definitely need to have you back on for another round, man.
All right.
And we didn't even get to bring up any of your Ric Flair stories. And I know you've got quite a few. I know you tried to out-drink him one time, so we're gonna have to.
Oh my!
We're gonna have to hear about that at some point in the future, man. But before we go, do you have anything you want to promote? Anything you want to?
Keep your eyes on the Squared Circle Expo Facebook page. We're not going to post anything tomorrow or anything. We still got a ways. But keep your eye on the Squared Circle Expo page on Facebook. Give it a like, give it a follow, because eventually we will start again promoting the upcoming show. Check out the Premier Streaming Network. Watch psn.com. You can check out pro wrestling anytime. It's like $10 a month, guys. It's got fantastic, especially if you're into indie wrestling. It's got like just such amazing stuff. But yeah, man, check out Squared Circle Expo, check out Premier Streaming Network, and just go enjoy pro wrestling, man. Just go enjoy it.
Amen.
Actually, I have that pin on my hat that says "Just enjoy wrestling." And I love having that pin because it does remind me, like when I do get cynical about it and stuff, I'm like, man, we live in one of the best times for pro wrestling right now. Like the amount of good wrestling out there, like
it's crazy, because I used to tell people I was born 20 years too late. Yeah. Because I think had I been a grown adult in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, I could have been a star, damn it.
You are a star, Ed.
But I'll be honest, right now, oh my God, pro wrestling just as a whole, right? I'm not just talking like WWE or AEW, pro wrestling, like the whole encompassing industry is so hot right now. And there's so many opportunities to make money or to watch as a fan.
Yep.
Right now maybe I was born 20 years too early now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
But just enjoy pro wrestling.
Yeah,
It's
I
fun.
mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, man, we don't have enough hours in the day sometimes to watch all the wrestling that's on every week.
Isn't it great?
And there's so much good wrestling. I mean, like Impact putting on great shows, and half the time I don't even have time to watch that.
I'm telling you right now, guys, heed my word. Impact is putting on some of the best wrestling in the industry right now.
Yep.
And it's a shame that not enough people are watching it. And I get it; it's on Access, like it's not a channel everybody gets. But they are legit, low key, putting on some of the best wrestling happening right now.
Dude, their pay-per-views are out of this world.
Yeah,
The matches they're putting on.
Their time's coming, dude. It's only a matter of time. They're gonna get that deal. It's a lot of those guys is who we see at Revolver and just excellent shows week in and week out.
Also, shout out Jake Christ getting back in Impact. Madman getting back in Impact. OVE back together. Love that.
Hey, Jake Christ just challenged for the Squared Circle Expo title a couple weeks ago.
I know.
He's challenging for the Revolver title this weekend.
I know, man. I know. I've known him for 20 years. We had our differences, we had our beefs, but we've kissed and made up. So that's pretty cool. That's one of those things that pro wrestling today did. So
he didn't burn your belt, did he?
No, he sure didn't. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna do it.
All right. We have been the DWO podcast. I have been Big Rig. He has been Mr. Magnificent Mike Martin. He has been Wrestling T-shirt guy Cephas, and he has been Mr. Ed Gonzales, the co-founder and current operator of Squared Circle Expo. Make sure you check that out. Is that coming next April? You guys announced a date yet? March. Okay.
March 29th and 30th.
Awesome.
Oh.
March 29th and 30th. Mark it on your calendars. That is one of the best times for anybody that is a fan of pro wrestling. I'm telling you. I'm hoping I can go more than one day next year. So
rock and roll, guys.
Thanks again, Ed.
Until next time, Top Dads out.